Hey there, you guys. Welcome back to the Nerdy Birdie channel here on YouTube. Of course, if you're new here, hi, welcome. This channel is an extension of the Nerdy Birdie podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud. And my show is just basically dedicated to nerding out about all the things that we love talking about most. So I interview a lot of artists, poets, musicians, all kinds of people, all kinds of weirdos, what have you. And I just like to extend opportunities for people to talk about what they love most, nerd out about it, get excited about it, promote things you got going on, all kinds of stuff. So this show is basically just an extension of that, but delving more into like very specific topics. And for today's example, or rather this video's example, I should say, on my Instagram, if you follow me, you know that I periodically do a Sunday Comics with Lauren segment, where I either record something or I just make a post about something that interests me, usually within the indie realm. But since today is Stranger Things Day, my absolute favorite show, short of the Golden Girls, clearly, as you can see in the background, I actually have more stuff that would be on the walls, but you can't see them, or I've taken them down to use in this video, as you will shortly see. So in honor of Stranger Things Day, which I'm so excited about, I'll be reviewing issue 2 of the Stranger Things comic book. So yeah, the Stranger Things issue 1 review is on this channel. I'm still new to YouTube, so I don't have a link to my other video savviness yet. So I'll get there, but I don't have a whole lot of videos on this channel yet, so it shouldn't be that hard to find, if indeed you do subscribe to me. So I can't imagine it would be difficult to find my Stranger Things issue 1 / mukbang review on this particular channel. So without further ado, let's review the Stranger Things 2 comic. Yes! Alright, so I'll have you know that in case you're unaware, Stranger Things is doing a limited series, meaning that it's not going to be ongoing. It's only going to be about 4 issues, and in lieu of that, there are a bunch of different variant covers. And a variant cover is just basically the same story with different cover options for collector's purposes. So in this case, I think there's 4 options. I could be wrong, but I happened to find all 3 at the shop I went to the other day. So I got all 3. So let's look at all the variants, talk about which one I like best, and get into the story. So, alright, so the first one I have, I'll take it out of its sleeve so you can actually see it properly without much of a glare. Let's get it out here, if it cooperates. This is what I'm calling the first variant option. I don't think it chronically is the first one. I don't think that matters, but for our sake, I'm just gonna call it the first one. So this is the first option. We have Will Byers right here on the cover in what looks like IKEA-ass cubbyhole looking things. It low-key kind of reminds me of like the backward stairs in Labyrinth, in case that's a franchise you're familiar and love, just like me. I don't really know where he is in this. Even after reading the story, I have no idea what he's supposed to be in, unless it's just like a metaphor for, I don't know where I am either, guys. Just a cool way to represent it, I guess. And I think it's kind of funny, like right here in the corner, we have, I can't even tell if there we go. There's a Demogorgon, which I feel like even if you were unfamiliar with Stranger Things, you would understand that that's the main threat in the storyline. So, it's just weird to me that this little Demogorgon guy looks like he has a fucking face. And like their whole shtick is that they don't like have a face like at all. So it's just weird that it happens to look like it has a face to any extent. So it's kind of weird. And then of course on the back we have a drawing rather, of Mike Wheeler, who's on his little bike, no doubt in Mirkwood, looking for Will. and we see a little bit of an allusion to possibly Will's toppled over bike, which chronologically doesn't make sense because Hopper finds the bike before the boys ever do in Mirkwood. So just saying, I'm calling out some inconsistencies because I'm gonna notice, because I'm a Stranger Things super fan. So Mama's gonna find him. Let me get a little comfortable here. So on first impressions, I really like this variant cover. This, if you watched my Instagram live story the other day, I kind of said that this is reminiscent of the type of art that I would probably do if ever blessed and given the option to do a Stranger Things variant cover or any kind of cover, really, because it's kind of reminiscent of what I feel is my style personally as an artist. But funnily, like, I feel like this is what I would probably do versus what I would aspire to be in variant number 3. This is a style that I really like and try to implement in my own art as far as the style goes. But here is option 3, and I really like this cover. I like how everything's kind of interconnected, literally and figuratively, into one drawing. There's obviously the Demogorgon as the supreme threat over the people in Hawkins, lording over L/11, who is obviously watching over, or I just like that it's connected to Will because it's obviously reminding the reader, or maybe the first time reader, that she can see Will in a dimension that no one else can, which is, oh so cleverly, the Upside Down. So I like the cleverness of it, just re-representing the fact that Will is literally and figuratively in the Upside Down in this picture, in this drawing, and just kind of alluding to the fact that 11 has the ability to still connect and communicate with him when seemingly no one else can, and probably knows more than anyone is aware of. So that's really cool, and I like the style, I like the art, and of course on the back we have the same imagery of Mike Wheeler looking for Will again. So love this cover. It's really hard for me to choose a favorite, but before we even try, let's look at the third option, which, I mean, it's its own breed of cool, so it's kind of hard because I like them all for such different reasons, and you'll see why. Because the third one is a photograph. It's not a drawing at all. It's a stylistic screen capture from season 1 when Joyce Byers is using the Christmas lights to communicate with Will through the walls of the Byers household. So in Stranger Things world, this is an iconic moment. So this is, I really love this. I like that it's made, it has like the distorted little, it looks like it's ripped or crumpled in like the edges, like an old VHS case covering. So I really like the attention to detail on that. It gives us the assumption that we'll see a little bit more of Joyce Byers in this particular segment of the story, which in case you aren't, if you haven't read the series at all, if you have no idea what the premise is, the Stranger Things comic book is the backstory, or rather like the extension of what was going on in the Upside Down while Will Byers was there. While everyone was searching for Will, this was what Will was experiencing in the Upside Down. So it's an interesting concept for sure. So I'm excited to see where the writers go with this. And of course, just because it's me, I just get a little kick in the joy of getting to see my own first name as a contributing person to the story, because my name obviously is Lauren, so like I get to kind of pretend and feel like I'm a part of it. Really, I'm not. Literally none of these people are probably ever gonna watch these videos, but that's fine. Because I really do love all these covers. Like, it's so hard choosing a favorite variant because I like them all for such different reasons. Again, because I really like this simple styling of this artwork right here. I think it's beautiful. I like the little Christmas lights and the fact that I'm not even sure what's going on, but it makes me interested in what could be happening. So I like that it creates enough mystery for me as a dedicated fan and possibly even a non-reader, someone who has no exposure to Stranger Things somehow. I feel like this would capture their interest too. Just like, what's going on? This looks creepy, but also really cool all at the same time. So that's why I like this one. And of course, as I mentioned before, with this cover, I just like this style. This is the type of art that I like to, or aspire to do myself when I'm not doing cartoon work. If it's more serious, I guess, this is the type of thing I try to do myself. I just like the imagination and the metaphors that are kind of forced but also just seamlessly intertwined. So I just think it's just a gorgeous rendition of this, of course, and I just like the creativity of what could have been just this, just putting this still on the cover of a comic book could have been very boring very quickly. It would have been like, okay, that tells us exactly what's going to happen probably. But I just like just this little detailing of these edges that make it look weathered from the 80s or 90s, you know. Well, we know it's the 80s, but it could be but the style, this could be, because we had VHS tape cut, you know, little paper covers in the 90s too. So that's why I say that, even though I know the story takes place in the 80s. But I just like that attention to detail that it gives, you know, that weathered age. It gives us that nostalgia feeling. And I just think it's really beautifully done. I just think it's really cool. It's really creative. You don't see too many comic book covers with actual photographs for a cover either. So I just think that was a really creative, interesting take. As far as choosing a favorite, it's so hard. But I would probably pick variant 2, mostly because I just think as far as craftsmanship and attention to detail and creativity, this probably does it more for me because it just gives more of a roundness to what to expect from the story. With this cover, while I do love it, this was almost a close tie for me. I really like it, but it's just a still from the show. I want to give more kudos to someone who went out of their way to create something special for the comic series, you know. So but in my mind, what's fair is to really judge 1 and 2, and I just really oh, excuse me. But between these two, I just gotta give it to variant number 2, the white cover with the 3 figures dominating the scene, just because I think it has the most well-roundedness, and I think that it gives the reader just enough to make their assumptions but not give anything quite away. This cover in my mind doesn't tell as much of a story as number 2 does. I think this just gives us a tidbit of the theme as far as Will surviving on his own in the Upside Down, but it doesn't give us much more than that, because this cover would work on any cover throughout the series and not mean anything. Whereas this one gives us more expectation of what could happen. We don't know for sure, but we have a guess. And I like being able to kind of guess and either be shocked or disappointed, overjoyed, whatever it may be. I like having something that makes me want to guess or gives me the option to guess. So that's really cool. As far as the story itself goes, I thought this was a step up from issue 1. Issue 1, I felt that the writing was okay. It was nothing super special, but I do think that it was okay. It was just okay. I didn't think that, and I know for me that says a lot. If anyone who knows me personally, it's like, I can't believe that Lauren's dragging anything related to Stranger Things. No. But I don't consider it a huge drag, because I mean, I still liked it. I just didn't think that it was anything that I couldn't have assumed or guessed on my own. Because in my mind, if we're gonna tell a backstory about what Will Byers experienced in the Upside Down, then I want something new. I want something crazy or scary. Like, I don't want something that's like, well, of course that happened. Like, what fun is there in that? So it was very short. Of course, comic books typically aren't long, obviously, but it felt like it took a long time to say like one thing, which is that we pretty much relived Will's disappearance into the dimension and him being like, oh, where am I? That's about all we really got in issue 1 for the most part. It was okay. We got to kind of, the only part that I thought was interesting, as far as I remember from issue 1, is Will being able to hear everyone calling out to him, like, Will, where are you? But like him not being able to respond in a way that was meaningful, that they could hear, and him just not knowing what to do about it. So that I thought was probably the most interesting part of it. But beyond that, it didn't quite thrill or give me that delicious suspense that a well-crafted horror story could do, sci-fi thriller, what have you. It felt like cheap suspense. And when I say cheap, I mean it was a poor attempt at making us feel scared with Will on one side of his bed with the rifle at the end of the first issue, like wondering if the Demogorgon's gonna come in. It was just kind of like, it could have been better. It just felt like kind of clunky, especially in the narrative of it. If it had been written differently, perhaps we would have gotten the intended feeling, but I just wasn't into it as much. And with issue 2, I thought it was a little bit better. We get to see a little bit more of, well, first off, it starts with the Demogorgon actually coming into the room and Will being unable to communicate with his mother on the walkie-talkie, which actually connects to that moment in season 1 when Joyce is on the phone and she can hear someone breathing and she thinks it's Will. No one believes her, but this connects it to that moment. So now we know that it actually was Will that whole time. We just took it, for the story's word in the actual show that it was Will, because we didn't really hear anything definitive. We just believed Joyce, because of course we would. She's the mom. A mama knows her son. But in the story, right off the bat, we get the confirmation that it was him the whole time on the phone. So I thought that was fun, and there's a lot of other moments like that throughout this book where we see little moments of connectivity between what Will's doing and what actually happened in our time. So like here we can see Will, we can see like how the phone is kind of like kind of like staticking on him, which would probably allude to when the phone kind of blows up in Joyce's hand too. So because he's trying to talk to her in those panels. So I enjoy the little connections like that. That's what makes it worthwhile to me as a reader and a fan. And we get to see more of Will trying to communicate through the lights and how that happens, and how and the frustration that he feels not being able to communicate quicker or with more words, because he's so limited with the yes and no options with the lights and the wall of letters with the Christmas lights. So we get to kind of see how that was for him, because we know what it was like for Joyce. So I just think that's really cool. And of course there's little moments where it's touching back at little just connections to Dungeons and Dragons when he's with his boys. You know, just I enjoy those little connections that the series is attempting to create along the way. And as you go, you get a real vibe for how frustrated and progressively scared Will gets, as he learns about how hard it is for him to communicate with his mom or whoever else. Just the struggle of him trying to figure out where he is and how and if he'll ever get out of it on his own. You start to see it weighing in on him, and that part makes it kind of real, for us, or for me at least as the reader. Just him wondering, like, either I don't know how to answer, or they're just either I don't know how to answer, or I just don't know how to help myself. I don't know how to help my mom find me. And though that part to me was the most redeeming part of the issue 2 so far, was just the struggle between mother and son, between dimensions, trying to communicate, not knowing how to help the other. So that to me was my favorite aspect of issue 2 so far. I'm flipping through it again as I'm talking, probably, as you can tell as I look down. I'm very excited for issue 3. They already have a preview of the variant cover options, as you can hopefully see. Hopefully you're seeing that properly. I don't know. But I'm very excited because now I know there's definitely 4, so I'm gonna get all 4. Girl, you know I'm gonna get all of them. Because they were just up on this wall right here before I started recording this. So as far as like maybe if we give this a star rating, I would give issue 2 probably like 4 stars, like 4.5. Maybe I'm not totally sure what would have tipped it to 5 for me. Because I mean, it didn't wow me. That's probably it. Like, it didn't wow me, but it was certainly better than issue 1. If I had never seen Stranger Things and I was only going off of these comics alone, issue 1 would not have made me want to watch it, but issue 2 would have motivated me a little bit more. So issue 2 definitely was a step up, a redemption for the series as it goes. It makes me more excited to see where issue 3 is going to go. So I'm looking forward to the next issue, and I'm really excited to see whatever gets announced today on Stranger Things Day. There's a lot of talk that we'll get some more news on season 3, perhaps an announcement date, who knows. Maybe we'll get some teasers or some more, or maybe a new teaser trailer for what's going to happen in the show. We already know that Stranger Things is going to take place in the summer of, I want to say 1984, possibly 85, because it's supposed to be a year after the event we last saw. So it's supposed to be summertime now. There's going to be a lot more activity going on at the Hawkins Mall, I'm supposing. I'm just really excited to see where this series picks up and where it goes from here. It's supposed to be a lot darker, so that makes me both excited and a little bit kind of like, oh no, because I kind of like the lighthearted moments, but I mean, with this show like Stranger Things, like, you kind of have to expect the darkness. So I hope you all have a lovely Stranger Things day. I didn't have any chocolate pudding, but I did have chocolate milk, so close enough as far as Stranger Things is concerned, as long as we got our sweets. But I hope you all have a lovely Stranger Things day. Hope you all get a chance to binge watch your favorite episodes, and I hope that everyone is excited for the next issue as I am. Cheers!